I've often thought that since then, 9/11, for example, or the financial crash year before last, and the sort of economic trouble we've been in, the American people have never really been asked to sacrifice anything for their country. In World War II, everything was rationed, for example. Sugar, gasoline, bacon, meat. They gave out some sort of little coupon ration books that housewives had, so they could buy a certain number of pounds of sugar a month or whatever it was. And no one complained about that. It was part of an effort that the whole country was behind. And I think that sort of feeling colored the experience of those of us who were in the service, because there was that feeling of unity of purpose and sort of determination.
When did they come up with the idea of rations? Was that at the beginning of the war?
Started very early.
Oh.
I'm not sure exactly. Do you remember when they started rationing things?
Oh, right away.
I think almost immediately.
They couldn't get away with it as long as they were sending. We need to send goods to England, but we weren't going to sacrifice for them.
No, I think
Immediately.
once the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, it was all over.
It was. Huh?
The interesting thing about I was in San Diego for most of the war, and the interesting thing about that is that Tijuana, was just across the border in Mexico, and you could go back and forth across the border very, very easily in those days. And so when we had a weekend off or a little time off, we'd go over into Mexico, and in Tijuana, everything that was rationed in the United States was there on sale. There was evidently a huge black market in this country that funneled things like nylon stockings were impossible to buy during the war, for example. And I would go into Tijuana and buy some and send them to my mother in Mississippi. But almost everything that was hard to get here, I don't guess Mexico was in the war at all, one way or the other, were they? Because it was purely wide open down there, and they sort of thrived on all of the American military people who went over, when they had a little time off.
Did you get a lot of time off?
Oh, no. No, not a lot of time off at all. I can't remember exactly what it was after I became, when I was in training, I didn't have any time off at all. I didn't leave Camp Pendleton from the time I went there for boot camp. Maybe we had 2 nights in between, but we didn't leave the base, and then went into officer training school. After I got to San Diego and was an officer, I can't remember about weekend duty. Maybe have one weekend a month off or something like that. I can't remember. It was probably depended on the base and how much you had to do, but no, you had 2 weeks leave a year, but the times between, like having a weekend off to go to Tijuana, maybe once a month or once every 6 weeks or something, not often.
All right. Is there anything else that you would like our generation or future generations to know about the war or about your experiences?
Well, for me it was a very good experience, and because of how much it meant to my sort of growing up and finding out who I am and being able to be an independent person, I've always thought since then, and also because while I was in college I really didn't know exactly what I wanted to study or why, or I had no real sense of purpose. It's always seemed to me since then that it would be a good thing if in this country we had a period of national service after high school, before college. Maybe not in the military. Maybe the military would be one choice, but there would be other things like the Peace Corps or like America First, the teachers, volunteer thing. Or during the war they had something, no, during the Depression they had something called the CCC, where kids went out and planted trees in forests. There are all sorts of community services that could be, along with the military, could give people 18 and 19 years old a chance to get away from home and work hard and begin to find out who they are and what they really want to do. Because I sympathize with anyone that age who doesn't know they want to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it is. It's hard to, how do you know those things when you're just, getting ready to leave home? So it was a good experience for me, and I think it could be again. Not that I would send your generation to combat. It worries me that has happened so often since World War II. But being in the military wouldn't hurt you a bit.
Just for that path of self-discovery.
I think so, and learning to accept a certain amount of discipline is necessary, even though you might not choose it. I just think it's a good way to I keep saying grow up, but no, that's the only expression I can think of that would say what I mean.
Right?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
It's not